if you're watching this, somebody, it looks like we're almost the same size, except we're definitely not. Paul Wight joins me here on the show. Thanks so much, Paul. I appreciate it. Good to have you.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you very much for having me, and good morning.
Good morning to you. So how thrilling is it to be a part of a company in AEW that's so new, so fresh, that's catching on the way that it is right now with wrestling fans everywhere?
It's super exciting. It was one of the main things that influenced me to make that transition, to leave WWE and come to AEW, to be a part of something that was growing, and to be a part of something really authentic. I think that's the thing that's really amazing about AEW is the talent. It's really coming from the talent. It's a very authentic product. I don't know how else to explain it.
How does it feel to get back in the ring after what was a pretty long layoff for you? Is that
yeah? I think I had two matches.
Is a ring rust is real, I imagine.
Yes and no. The hard part is just telling your brain to be quiet. It's not natural to fall down. It's not natural to take bumps in our business. And when you haven't done it in a while, your brain's kind of like, I shouldn't fall down. But you have to just relax and remember your body knows what to do and your subconscious knows what to do, and just have fun, go do it. So yes, it's fun to get back in the ring and have some fun wrestling, lace up my boots and get in there and rock and roll a little bit.
Before we hit record, I told you that I've been a fan of yours for a long time. I didn't want to make you feel old, and you said too late. But anyway, do you kind of feel like you're the Tom Brady of wrestling in some ways? I mean, you're coming in 1995 and you're still going strong today. You're actually doing it longer than Brady.
I would never put myself in the same category as Tom Brady. I think he's just an amazing athlete and what he's accomplished. I think I'm just I'm very stubborn. So, as long as they're paying, I'm playing. So I've created a little niche for myself, and a niche, however you want to say it. And, I'm having fun doing the commentary thing, and I still get to go in there and act like a giant once in a while. And I'm just lucky. I don't know, Brandon. There's no skill to it, I promise you. There's no secret skill set to it. I would have to say blind ass luck.
When did you realize this was what you were going to do? I mean, you're obviously built for it. You're a huge individual, and I'm sure that didn't happen overnight. No. When did you know that professional wrestling, especially with your size and your personality, I mean, really, like, some guys have to make it work. You were built for this industry.
I was very lucky to have all the tools necessary, a gift of gab, athleticism, and size. And I was a fan as a kid growing up. I don't think I realized probably that I was made to do it probably till like the summer of '93 when I was living in Chicago, and I started doing some inquiries about what it would take to become a professional wrestler, to get involved in professional wrestling. And the response I got from most people was just jaw dropping, like, yeah, that's what you should do, dummy. One of those kind of things. So, but back then the wrestling business was a little bit harder to get into. The internet hadn't been invented yet. So it was hard to find places to train and to learn how to do it. You had to know somebody that had to vouch for you, and then they'd start training you. So it's different. Now there's camps and schools, and you can find anything through Google. So there you go.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, if you want to be a professional wrestler now, not that it's easy, but it's certainly easy to find your way in to getting some training.
Yeah, it's certainly way to find
when I was
your
a kid
in.
looking back, I'm like, how do you even do this? Like, what do you go to and apply somewhere?
Yeah, that's the whole thing. It was just back then. It was hard. I mean, I talked to everybody from Kurt Hennig to Brad Riggins, and finally made my way to WCW and trained with Terry Taylor and Jody Hamilton. So it was a unique journey to get into wrestling because I was so big, 22 or 23. And back then, a lot of promotions want you to be able to work already. You need to know what you were doing. Well, okay, well, where do I go learn? That was the tough part. So I have a lot of respect for the guys that made it before me, because it was even tougher before me. And the younger kids today, they have a lot of opportunity, but there's so many people competing now. I don't think there was many people competing to get in the business and fighting for opportunities to be seen back in the day as much as the kids are now. I mean, that's what's so great about AEW with Dark and also Elevation. There's so many opportunities for these guys to come in, gals to come in and work and experiment a little bit with their characters and make mistakes and learn and be around some people that have a little bit more experience and learn from them. And it's a much more conducive environment for building an authentic star, that's for sure.
AEW's Paul Wight on with me here. You can find tickets are available right now. $29 you can get in AEWTix.com edition financial arena this Saturday, October 23rd.
I might be lacing up my boots this Saturday. It's about that it. Just been a little bit. So I think I'm bringing my gear bag with me. So if you come to the event in Orlando, you just might see my big ass in the ring. So
I just heard a bunch of people drop $29 at AEWTix.com with a
well,
promotion
you're
like
see
that.
400 pounds in spandex, brother. I mean, that alone is worth the price of admission.
You're not going to get that anywhere else. I want to go back to something that you said about being a fan, and
yes.
I've been a fan since the 80s. I wasn't doing interviews back then. I've talked to a lot of wrestling people over the last few years. It seems like a common thread. I would say if I had to lay a percentage on it, it's like 90 to 95% of the people in the industry that I talk to say, I grew up as a fan. I just get this feeling like that wasn't the case for the wrestlers that I grew up with in the 80s and 90s. But at the same time, there's a lot more interviews today and a lot more people talking about being in the industry than there were back then. Do you get the feeling like there's more fans within the industry than there was when you first broke in, where guys were doing it because they had a look and because they kind of fit the mold versus I grew up watching this and that's why I got into the business?
Well, I think the biggest thing is guys in the older days didn't have the access to a lot of local television. I mean, local TV, you had your different territories, you had your local stars, whether they be in Texas or North Carolina or Minnesota, out in California. Those guys were fans too that got in this business. You don't walk into this business blind. The only difference was those guys back then, it was a lot tougher because the business was very, very protected back then. There wasn't a peek behind the curtain. I don't know if you remember Arnold Skolin, worked for WWE for a long time.
Name sounds slightly familiar.
Yeah, well, he used to do some stuff with Andre. He was big in that environment for running a lot of stuff backstage. I mean, he helped build WWE in the early days and worked for Vince Sr. But when Arnold Skolin broke into the business, he was a good amateur wrestler, a pretty good athlete, young, good-looking kid. I remember him telling me the story that he got into wrestling, was encouraged by some guys to get in, got beat up for 3 or 4 months every night, but was getting paid. And it wasn't easy to get this kind of a paying job back then. So he took shellacking almost every night. And then one night, one of the big stars sort of made him and put him over in the ring. And somehow Arnold won a match and didn't even know how he won it. He was so scared he was going to get beat up in the locker room, he left. And they had to go run him down and bring him back. And then they let him know the inside scoop that, no, we work together. This is like a family, da-da-da-da. He was in the business for a couple of months before they even, quote, smartened him up that wrestling was a work. They went out there because those guys back then knew real amateur holds. They just, like a lot of the younger talent today is real familiar with UFC, and UFC is that type of mixed martial arts combat has made its way to professional wrestling and changed the landscape of professional wrestling for things that we used to see. So it's a blended mix now. But back then, these guys were pretty tough. They didn't hit the ropes and do a lot of stuff like that. Like a suplex back in the 50s was a big move. Like it was,
that was your finisher back then.
Yeah, that was ridiculous, So to see how the business has progressed and flowed with the younger talent available and the younger talent knowledge, it's been a hell of a journey. You have to evolve in this business. You have to evolve. You have to let it grow. You have to bring some way to connect with your audience.
And these high spots now with these guys flying and doing all types of flips and tumbles over the ropes. Are we going to see Paul Wight do that this weekend?
No. I don't think so. I think I did all my high flying stuff back in the day, and I don't know. It depends. Big enough match, right opponent, right situation. I'm insane. But, you talk about high spots, and that's just an evolution of the business. You look at how fast our business is going. I'm not saying it's right. It's different because I'm from an older generation. So I look at fast moving high spots sometimes as too much. But then again, you look at our younger viewers and our younger audiences, they are apps. They'll run several devices at the same time. Holding their attention span on social media, it's very hard to get their attention span. So the old days of us settling down and telling a story and, being in a headlock for 5 minutes or something to get the crowd to go crazy, this new crowd, new audiences, it might, make them want to go, find something else to watch. So it's a difficult mix of trying to make that connection with the audience. And I think any way you can make yourself unique and make yourself special and make that connection as a talent, because wrestling is art. And I tell the younger guys and gals at AEW all the time, look, this is my opinion. This is how I would do it if I was you. But it's an art. You have to do it your way. If you make that connection with the audience, then that's your connection and that's how you get over. But the main thing is make sure you make that connection, whether they love you or hate you, but make them do one or the other. Don't stay in the middle.
Yeah. So, and a flip
it's an art
by
form.
itself.
It's all interpretation. Yeah.
Right. A flip by itself doesn't do that, but it can be part of the story, and I'm sure that's something that
it's more than a flip. I mean, you don't want to do the same dive that they've already seen 10 times tonight already. You don't want to do the same cutoff spot that they've seen 3 times already. Pay attention to the show. Pay attention to the other talent around you. How do you make yourself different? How do you stand out? Is it your size, your presence, your promo skills, or your wrestling ability? How do you make it look different? I mean, you look at, the match we just saw on AEW with Brian Danielson and Kenny Omega. I mean, good God, that was 30 minutes in a draw, and nobody was upset about it. Nobody was upset. Tore it down. No, it was just like, okay, well, even me, as someone that's been in the business for 4 decades, I sit back and go, wow, that was freaking amazing. There's no way in hell I could ever do that. That's awesome. So there's something for everyone, but you can appreciate when something is done right. If that makes any sense.
It does. Okay. You've been there for a lot of big time reactions. We saw CM Punk come back in August. That was one of those moments as a wrestling fan, not one I will soon forget. Chills up and down the arms and all of that.
Right.
Where does that rank for you in terms of all-time reactions? Top 5, top 3?
Definitely top 5. Definitely probably top 3 in my lifetime. I mean, you think of Stone Cold Steve Austin with the breaking glass and the Austin 316 promo. Wow. You know what I mean? That was the start of something huge. When Hulk Hogan turned heel and joined the NWO after so many years and the trash was thrown in the ring. Like, wow, that was a huge moment. The Stone Cold Steve Austin, I mean, the CM Punk coming back was so unreal because people had waited so long and there were so many teases. Every time any wrestling organization went to Chicago, is this the time we're going to see CM Punk? Is this the time we're going to see CM Punk? And then you see CM Punk come back, who's still in great shape, who still is excellent at what he does. I love CM Punk's matches because he starts slower and builds toward the end. By the end, you're going nuts because he pulls you right in his work with his ability to tell that story in the ring. And he's great on the microphone. His timing on the promo when he came back in Chicago, if you're a younger talent and you're looking at cadence and meaning and telling a story and how to cut a promo, that promo is one of the best promos I've ever heard for storytelling. CM Punk told a story. He didn't knock anybody. He didn't bury anything. He spoke from his heart about how things affected him. And he took you on that journey. He made you understand why he was gone so long. And then he made you understand what brought him back. And that's what you want to do in a promo. You want to have a beginning, middle, and end and tell a story. And Punk is a great storyteller on the microphone and in the ring. So to have him back, it was a great shot in the arm. And then to have Bryan Danielson come over and have these guys really shake it up and really help these younger guys and give guys like Kenny Omega and a chance to really run. Because I honestly never understood how good Kenny Omega was till I got to watch him work. Because I worked in a different company. I knew who Kenny Omega was. I knew that he was a big deal in Japan. I knew that a lot of people talked about it. But I had no idea how good this guy was until I got around him and watched him. I was like, holy shit, holy hell.
You're fine.
One of the.
You're good.
Okay, he's one of the I usually don't curse that much on it, but he's one of the best I've seen at the little things that he does. He's such a great heel, and he enjoys being a heel. He's not afraid to make fun of himself. He's not afraid to go out there in the ring and do healer stuff and look like he want to hurt somebody. But the stuff that he does is on point. It's impressive to watch. I've become a huge fan of him since I got to AEW.
So much so you dropped a 4-letter word for us.
I dropped a 4-letter word for him. There you go. Plus he's a good dude backstage. He's not that arrogant SOB that he is on TV. He's a really kind person backstage, which I always respect. Some guys live their gimmick 24/7, and some guys understand it's a work. And a guy like Kenny understands it's a work.
Well, before I let you go, we've gone long, and I appreciate your graciousness with your time and all of that. I do want to ask you about something that's kind of cool that came up last year, the Big Show on Netflix. I mean, how surreal is that? What a cool opportunity. I mean, you've seen yourself on TV for years, but seeing yourself as a star on a Netflix show, how cool was that?
That was the most incredible opportunity I've ever had in my life. I mean, I can't thank enough to Netflix, to WWE for giving me that opportunity. Ever since doing this Saturday Night Live, when I got to do a little guest appearance with The Rock and got to experience that live audience comedy thing, I've wanted to do live audience comedy in a TV show type situation. I'm funny. I'm too big that I can do funny things. Like, it's a good slant. Like, Chris Rock said, if you're too big, people won't laugh. But, that's not true. I can make people laugh. To have that responsibility to do that show, and the learning curve was super hard. Because when I first started, it was, I got my first script on a Friday, and we were supposed to start shooting on a Monday. So I knew the whole script by Monday. Walk in Monday, did my walkthrough, was such a pro, didn't need it in my hand. Came back Tuesday, it's a different script, because they did rewrites Monday night, and I wasn't prepared. There was a rewrite on Monday nights, Tuesday nights, and Wednesday nights. Then we did a little bit more Thursday, and Friday we shot in front of a live audience. So it was a lot to train that brain muscle to remember the dialogue. And I can't thank enough to Allison Munn, who was my co-star in that whole thing. She was really such a pro and helped me with just little things, like if my joke went on the next page, to write my joke at the bottom of my page, so when the network's there, you don't take too long to deliver your joke, because if your joke brags, the next script rewrite, you won't have that joke in your script. So there were little things that I learned that was a lot of fun, and I had a great time. I got 3 new daughters now with Ray Lynn and Lily Brooks and Juliet Donafield. So I stay in touch with the girls a lot, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. But for me, it was a good chance to go out there and prove, hey, I can do this. I knew I could do it, and I did it. And now we're in the process of creating some more opportunities. I don't know if we're going to do another family comedy, but I'm working on something else now. Hopefully down the road that'll come together. That'll be pretty funny too.
Paul Wight, a diversified entertainer who might just strap up the boots this weekend. 2 nationally televised events live under the same roof at Edition Financial Arena. It's this Saturday, October 23rd. Tickets on sale now at AEWTix.com. You can get them for as low as $29. This is historic. AEW is absolutely exploding. In fact, it's already exploded, and it's never been to our town. And you can go and catch that live. Thanks so much, Paul. I appreciate your time. You were gracious with it. Best of luck with everything else that you've got going on, and continued success to the Tom Brady of professional wrestling.
Brandon, I love you for that. I hope like hell it catches on, but thank you very much. It warms my heart. Thank you.
You got it.